Welcome to FM Thoughts, a podcast about thoughts on Football Manager. I am JMThoughts, and today I am joined by HowWeRollEoghan. Hello. Now, that wasn't quite right, but was it fairly close? Is it Owen?
No, well, actually, I think if you technically do it, I don't think I could call myself the right name. It's Owen,
Okay.
like it's emphasis on the A at the end. But I mean, I say Owen a lot, as in Owen, which is the Welsh thing. I'm not that precious now. If you met me at 9 and 10, spelling my name was very important to me.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I remember at primary school that there was a little kid that I was mentoring, and he was like obsessed with everyone calling him by his entire full name, completely correct. Little kids, eh? Anyway, the main point is you're a Football Manager chap, aren't you?
I am, and I have been for, I've been playing it since Championship Manager 2 in like 97 or 98. But yeah, streaming it probably since 2019-ish, maybe.
Where does the role Owen reference? Is that a football reference, or is that a different kind of reference?
No, so HowWeRollEoghan, I don't even think this was it definitely was my first Twitch channel to be viewing with, but the HowWeRollEoghan came from a podcast I do around what's called tabletop role-playing games. So D&D and D&D type games. So dice and tabletop stuff. Because we used to stream that on the HowWeRoll podcast channel, I'd be in chat there as HowWeRollEoghan.
There you go.
Just as a character, and now it's stuck. It's not the best for branding. It's very long. I mean, the How We Roll people get, you throw on the 6 letters of Owen, which for anyone who's listening and hasn't looked at the title, I guess is EOGHAN. No one's guessing that outside of Ireland. It's not great for branding, but it's stuck now.
I mean, you are lucky that whole D&D is now super cool and popular. So it's not embarrassing to admit that.
That's it, exactly. And it was for a long time. And I only, I played my first game at D&D when I lived in Manchester in 2014 at probably 26, 27. And I was like, I didn't know anyone who played it, but I knew once I played it, I was that nerdy, like a Football Manager person that gets obsessed about things. It's like, I'm going to get too into this. And I was listening to podcasts, played my first game, and 8 weeks later, we started a podcast. Like, I went from not knowing how to play the game to, well, this is what I do now. And here I am 8 years later, basically. I
love that enthusiasm, and you've definitely thrown that into your kind of Football Manager side of things as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I have 100%. It's weird. Like, I started streaming because I'm an egomaniac. I think not everyone in the scene is, but a lot of us are. And I was actually kind of a Stardew Valley and did Subnautica and different things before I started streaming Football Manager. I kind of fallen out of playing Football Manager over the years, and I found Loki Doki and Work the Space on YouTube were the first kind of content creators I started watching, and Leluja was soon after, and then I went on to Twitch and live, and I had been streaming my own games at that point, and I realized, this suits how I like to stream, as almost a just chatting stream where there's stuff happening in the background to watch, and then became predominantly a Football Manager streamer who occasionally does other stuff as opposed to the other way around.
Do you want to tell us about your save that you've got going at the moment? What have you been playing this Football Manager predominantly?
So this year I tried to do something different. I tried to do a journeyman and stick at a journeyman. I was one of these, I think a lot of people who try journeymans get to like club 2 in their journeymans, like, well, I now love this club and this is my save. And I didn't want to fall in love with a club. I wanted to try and keep moving. And when I was thinking about the last year, what I wanted to do in the save this year, I wanted to play in leagues I hadn't played in, which it's difficult to do. I'd always done it here and there I'd done a couple of seasons in Korea one year, but I'd never done a long run of different leagues. So I came up with a concept of Win It or Bin It, mostly just because it's a good rhyming name. And the rules around Win It or Bin It was you join a club, you're there for 2 seasons. After 2 seasons, you review how you've done against the board expectations. If you've exceeded them, and chat help us decide if we have exceeded them, you win another year on your contract, and you review it again after that year. And if you haven't exceeded them, you bin yourself off, you resign, you find a new club. So that was kind of to keep us moving. The other side then, on how to play on lower leagues, trying to put a very loose narrative on it. So we're kind of like, right, if I got a badge in real life tomorrow, where could I realistically get a job at a club? And we're like, well, there's the Welsh second division because it's basically amateur. Or we put a narrative around, well, I could get a job in Hong Kong, manage some of their lower league sides. And that's where we started off our first season with the very invitingly and kind of magically named Resource Capital FC, which sounds like a hedge fund.
I mean, it definitely sounds like a hedge fund in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And did you find yourself not falling in love with Resource Capital FC?
I absolutely loved Resource Capital FC for a minute. One, like, I was like, we went looking through Hong Kong, because I think when you, like, we started off unemployed and we had loads of leagues loaded, and we kind of said we are going to start in Asia because it just made sense for the lowest of the low leagues. And, like, you looked at a few different names and they're all interesting, and a lot of the Hong Kong ones were interesting. But you see Resource Capital FC and it just sticks out so much. And also the pink kit. I love a pink kit. So we ended up there, and it was just, Hong Kong was brilliant. Potentially my favorite place. I've been in I think I'm in my 6th country, not 5th country. It might be my favorite league. I'll talk about the other ones when we get there. But yeah, like we were there for 2 seasons, and it was really hard leaving it. But if I didn't leave it, it would have been the worst journeyman in history, you know.
I know a few people that have pulled the old journeyman. Oh no, it's one club actually. It's always a risk, isn't it?
It is, and we had like, so the way Resource Capital worked out for us, and the way Hong Kong works out, there's either 10 or 12 clubs there. They have a weird thing that the Hong Kong under-23s are in the league, and in Hong Kong you do military service. So when anyone turns 23, generally, if they're from Hong Kong, they end up getting, if they're any good, they get loaned to Hong Kong under-23s because that's the army team. So
wow.
That's something it's something that's interesting in the league. You just bleed money, but we had a lot of fun. We had decided some rules on the fly, like we brought one Irish player out. I think the only Irish player who signed for us, a guy called Sam Bone. And like a lot of the heroes of the save started with Resource Capital FC and followed us for a few places. We struggled in the first season, finished maybe mid-table, 5th or 6th in the league. And in the following season, there's 4 trophies in Hong Kong. We managed to win all 4. So that was pretty comprehensive. We could have stayed on because we exceeded expectations, but all we'd have done was we'd have to stay and play in the Champions League and see how we get on. But I think in the Champions League, Hong Kong, we had €7,000 or pounds, I think I'm playing pounds, as a wage budget, and like we were drawn against a Korean team whose star player was earning 22,000 a week, you know, so like
Yep.
It just wasn't the same league at all.
So what I'm pretty sure the topic of this podcast is going to be is rubbish smaller leagues, and definitely sounds
exception rubbish. Smaller leagues, I'll give you. Well, actually, one of them's rubbish. I'll say it. All
right. I'll try and find a way to be diplomatic in it. But I mean, I have heard from people who've also managed in some of the other lower leagues in Asia that like the Champions League could be a real problem because you effectively, you know, if you make it anywhere, because you just get battered by the South Korean or Japanese or Chinese teams. Also, you just hemorrhage money because you're having to like fly all over the place, and yeah, it doesn't sound like a fun time.
I think season 2 in Hong Kong, we ended up having like 2/3 of our budget from the first year. That's how bad it was. And the other thing about getting into, so Hong Kong gets to like the qualifying stages of the Asian World Cup, and you're playing the team that came like 5th in Korea or something. But there's no like if you play and lose in that round, you get no money. Like there's no losing prize money like there is in European stuff. So like, I've just flown to Korea to get beaten 9-1 or something, and my morale is ruined. It's cost me more money, and I guess you get a reputation boost. So yeah. It's not it doesn't lift up the club the same way as it does when you're an Icelandic team that gets into a Conference League qualifier or something.
Absolutely, yeah. You've just taken everyone on a really miserable holiday across.
Yeah, just like the world's worst school tour. Yeah, exactly.
So where did you go after Hong Kong?
So Hong Kong, we decided we'd mess around. We applied to a few places, but we ended up in Malaysia with the longest club name in the world. They go by UITM, but it's University Institute Technology Mara FC.
Fantastic.
Which is basically a university town. We looked up a small bit on them. As far as I can tell, an agricultural university. And we joined them when they were getting relegated out of what's called the Super Malaysian League, or Liga Super Malaysia, into the Premier League, which is very confusing. A lot of Asian countries seem to have Premier as their second division. So we joined them. It was almost impossible not to get relegated with what games we'd left. But Malaysia is weird. There's 2 cups in it. I'm not entirely sure how you qualify for them. One of them is like the FA Cup. There's another one that has a very similar name to the FA Cup, and not all the teams are in it. I think most of the top division teams are in it, and maybe the teams in the promotion playoff from the division below. Like, we played in this cup only one of the 3 years we were there, and it was the year we were getting relegated, and we managed to win the cup on the way down.
Oh, brilliant.
which was good. It was obviously the only cup we got in Malaysia. So we got relegated season 1 there. We then went into the Premier Malaysian League. We were, I think, 7 or 8 points clear at the halfway point in the season. We finished 12 points behind first after that. I think we won 2 games in the second half of the season. Almost didn't get promoted. The top 2 go up. So we exceeded our expectations because they were expecting us to fight for promotion. Season 3, we got halfway through the season in the top division and we're absolutely rooted to the bottom of the league. Now all our money and stats and everything kind of had us there. And before we could win it or bin it in season 3, they binned us off.
Oh no!
So that's a rubbish league. I'll give you Malaysia. Maybe might be the worst league. That was a very, very difficult league. So we went to India next. So we were debating trying to get into China and Korea at this point because we thought we have 5 trophies to our name, 4 in Hong Kong, 1 in Malaysia, a promotion to our name. Like maybe our reputation was there. Our reputation is still dog. Nobody knows who we are in Malaysia, let alone outside of Malaysia. So the Indian League, I think it was below. It's either right at the same level as the Malaysian League, or maybe a couple of places below it in the Asian rankings. I found out it has 2 leagues, as in 2 competing leagues. It looks like they're competing leagues, and the Hero I League it seems to be less about online when you go looking it up. And we ended up joining a team called Rajasthan United, which looked to be relatively recently successful, but they finished like mid-table. So I guess like a Manchester United or Chelsea maybe last year. They looked to have a good team, a good level of reputation in the league. We managed to go in there, kind of steadied the ship. They were, I think, 7th or 8th in the league. We finished 4th with them. We brought in some heroes that were with us at Resource Capital FC. We couldn't get them to Malaysia because they thought we're better than Malaysia. So we brought them in. They brought us up the league. And then in the second season, we won the Indian League. Got manager of the year there. Our first manager of the year, I believe. Sorry, second manager of the year. We got manager of the year in Hong Kong too. So we resigned that job. Had a lot of trouble finding a new job after that.
Oh, no.
Still, despite getting manager of the year, I think it was probably about 6 months. And we didn't get interviews with anyone other than, I think, 2 Iceland teams. And just before we went to kind of take an Iceland job, a job came up in China. I said, look, you know what, lads? I'm going to try this. They're in the Super League. There's not a hope they're going to interview us. And that's when QD Hinau, or Qindao Hinau, up the Sea Bulls, named after some manatees, took an interview and they gave us a job completely, as in, I was like, we'll rush through this interview. They're not going to give it to us. And they ended up giving us the job. And next thing I knew, I was in a relegation battle in the Chinese Super League with maybe 6 games left. And yeah, the start of probably the greatest stint in the Save so far. First season we got relegated with them, but it was one of those of, I think we'd like maybe 6 games left, but if we didn't get, we could maybe draw 1 game and then get maximum points and everything else was the only way we'd have survived. Like it was something mental like that. We went down to the Chinese League 1. There's no major rules in China other than the one everyone knows of Chinese goalkeeper. You have to have a Chinese goalkeeper. Oh, actually, no, I tell a lie. There is 5 foreigners allowed in the Super League. So we get to the off season, we're relegated. Right, time to look at these foreigners. Bring in some of the old heads from India who were there. Brian Ellens came in, who was an Indian, half Englishman. We had, I can't remember the winger's name, but he was phenomenal as well for us to score a lot of games. Calcedo, and he was half Indian and South American somewhere. Brought all these players in. We had 5 foreigners on the books. We're getting relegated. Season ticks over. We get relegated into League 1, and we don't realise that the second division has different rules, and you're only allowed to have 3 foreigners in the matchday squad as opposed to 5. I think only 2 of them can be on the pitch as opposed to 4. It's like, uh-oh, I'm going to have a lot of players disappointed. So that was a very important lesson I learned of make sure when you're learning the rules of the league that you check what league you're going into, be it going down or going up. China's League 1, we won the league relatively comfortably, like manager of the month 5 times and popped straight up. Brought back some of the guys that were on loan that were foreign, some of our foreign players. They were still very good even for the league we were going into. I think we sold 1 of them to bring in a couple of players. 2 of the guys we did sign actually in that season were Paddy the Spud O'Connor. He got the nickname the Spud because he had a massive head, and I think he was the league's 2nd top goal scorer from his corners. And Charlie Ward, who turned out to be China's answer to Erling Haaland, kind of following the Irish trend of, we brought an Irish person to every club we were at pretty much. We came 2nd in that 3rd season, unexpectedly somewhat. Kind of went on a late run. I think we lost 1 game in the second half of the season only. But we lost the second last game of the season to Chanadong, who were 4th in the league at the time. And as a result of that, we lost the league by a point, finishing 2nd.
Ugh.
Which was heartbreaking because it really wasn't expected. Got manager of the year that year, so that was our third manager of the year in the 4 countries we've been in. This is why we don't like Malaysia. Again, we reviewed it. We're like, right, we came second. It wasn't expected. Win it or bin it. Doesn't matter. We decided at that time as a channel. Doesn't matter what the board said now. We've come second. They're probably going to say, look, qualify for the continental competitions again. So finish in your top 3 in China. We're saying no. If we don't exceed what we did last year and win the league, we're gone out of here. So we go into season 4 in the Super League again. Do unbelievable. I mean, to compare, it was 2030 was season 3 into 2031 for season 4. We got 1 manager a month in 2030. We got 4 managers a month in 2031. Everything's looking rosy. We're top of the league. We play Shanadong, who are again in 4th place, the 3rd last game of the season, and we lose to them. And we finish 2 points behind the league leaders then again because of Shanadong, get manager of the year. But there was a long debate in chat. Chat were saying, "Oh no, we'll go 1 more year, we'll win it." But I said, lads, this is the definition of win it or bin it. The whole point was, there's going to be times where we're going to bin it off, even though it feels like there's unfinished business. So we left China having finished second twice in a row. And we've enough of Asia. We're going to try something different. We didn't apply for too many jobs, but the one that came up was Black Leopards in South Africa, which is just a great name. And when we looked at them, they were actually 3rd in the Glad Africa Championship, it's called, which is the championship, basically, of Africa, so the 2nd division. Their manager had jumped to a job, I think, in the Premier Division, or maybe he'd moved to Europe. So they were a decent team. I think the first team goes up automatically from the championship. The 2nd and 3rd team go into a promotion playoff. I think the 3rd last team in the Premiership, or the 2nd last team in the Premiership, sorry. But it breaks off into a 3-team league at the end. Oof. So we scraped into this playoff in our first partial season in Africa, and you play the other 2 teams twice. So you play 4 games, and we went undefeated, having finished 3rd. I just like the reason we went to Africa. One, look, it's something different. Again, I haven't mentioned in Africa. Black Leopards is just a cool name. They have a nice badge. It looked like I could get a jersey, which I was very excited about. So we went there. It was the first one, like, you see other people do the journeymans, and if you get timed right or get lucky, someone happens to just get promoted into a better job because they're a manager who's on the up. So we got a ready-made club that we're like, right, we're going to have to... Every other club we'd be like, right, we need to fix this rot from the first season. But no, they went straight in, promoted up into the DSTV Premiership, and the challenge was going to be like, these guys are going down no matter what happens, basically. You're in a 16-team league. I think we were predicted to come 15th, so back into that promotion relegation playoff. It turned out we ended up signing a lot of Mozambique players. There seemed to be a lot of them around for free. So we had about 3 or 4 international Mozambique players that we signed, and we established ourselves as a kind of, on our day we could beat anyone in the league, but there was a lot of elite South African teams, your Kaizer Chiefs, your Orlando Pirates, who kind of be the stronger ones. We couldn't break into that top tier level, and we ended up finishing 6th in our 2nd season there. All very happy, had a really good competitive run. That doesn't get you anywhere near any of the African competitions. Only the top 2 teams go. One going to the Champions League, one going to whatever their equivalent of the UEFA Cup is. And we had a long, hard chat. Are we having fun here? Like, we've done well in Africa. We've definitely exceeded expectations. We can stay on for another year. To break into this top 2 teams and try and win something like next year, to exceed expectations, would probably be to finish top 3 or top 4. Chat just weren't too into the league. It just became a bit, not fun is wrong, because I was enjoying it, but it just wasn't. It was a hard stream to keep going. We're like, right, what are we going to do? And we decided after season 2, look, we gave Africa a good run. It was fun. We've got a jersey. We're going to move on again, basically. Mm-hmm. It's a really fun league, and if you started there as a road to glory save, it would be brilliant. But at this point, we're like, let's just do something a bit more fun. We left them 32, 33. And then a couple of Irish jobs came up, because it was when the African League ends, it matches summer football in Ireland. So we ended up playing for 2 or 3 Irish teams. And we got St. Pat's Athletic, which is our current club in the Save, or St. Patrick's Athletic, to give them the full title, the Super Saints. 8 games left, and we were 6 points from second last. Last gets relegated, second last goes into a playoff for promotion relegation. And our goal, which was a lot more difficult than we expected, the board wanted us to avoid relegation. Now, win it or bin it, you don't consider whether you're staying or going in season 1. So we're like, well, if we've got a free hit for the first season, doesn't matter if we're bottom of the league. Played about 3 games, dropped back 8 points behind. Didn't start off very well. So I think we're now 8 points behind with 6 games to play or something like that. And this brings us up to only yesterday when we were playing, pretty much, where we finally brought it back to we're 2 points behind with 3 games left in the season. And it's last who's us playing second last in Finn Harps. So if we beat them, we leapfrog them for, I think, the first time since game week 10, like long before we got there. And we didn't do it. we went 2-0 up in 28 minutes and proceeded to throw away the lead fantastically. So now we currently sit with 2 games left in the season, 4 points behind that playoff place and Finn Harps with 2 games left to play. So we have to go undefeated in the last 2 games. Hope Finn Harps don't pick up any points. Because if I don't, I may get sacked. I don't know if I will or won't, because I'm failing the one objective that's required of me, which is avoid relegation. We were in a low place yesterday when we lost to Finn Harps because we'd gone on such a good run. Our form in the league was, we were 5th in the league in form. They were 10th. The only game they performed for was against us all of a sudden. So we're not dead and buried just yet. We may be streaming later on this evening to figure out whether we get there or not. But it could be a very short stream. I could lose the first game and then like, right, well, good luck. We're going to play something else.
So you've ended up in Ireland there, which I also know you spent quite a long time there. Was it last Football Manager?
Yeah, last year I took my local team, which was basically just formed last year, Treaty United, and did a Build a Nation there.
So you kind of got this experience of taking some of these, it's fair to say, maybe, lower reputation leagues and running with one for a long period, but also now having hopped around all the different leagues. How does that experience differ between moving around these leagues versus staying in one lower reputation league?
So I've always been a lower league player. What it has taught me to do, or what habit it broke for me, I was always a guy of, I'm a lower league team, be it I'm a Bolton fan or an Irish league or anything like that, tier 10 save. I go into a club, I'm a selling club, I make money, I reinvest it, I buy young, sell high. But when they're been, it's like, okay, I have an objective to reach, which is, I guess, more like a real Premier League manager. If I don't finish here, I'm gone. So it changes my outlook on how I'm buying players. Leads to some financially more reckless decisions, as in, this is a good decision if I buy him and I finish here. If I don't finish here, the club is not in a great way. And it's a different way to play. It's not the way I am inclined to play. Enjoy is the wrong thing to say because I haven't enjoyed it, but it's definitely put a different slant on the game, trying to keep the board happy and everything else. So it's definitely changed my perception of how I play the game a bit.
It also sounds like because you've moved around, but you've not jumped like radically upwards, particularly at that time in Asia. That not only is there a sentimental reason to bring those players with you, but actually if you're looking for an immediate impact, you probably would be going and saying, well, I've worked with this player before, I know how they play, I'm going to bring him in, as opposed to, as you say, that kind of more traditional route of, well, the only thing that matters is signing 18-year-olds that are going to be amazing and selling them on for profit, etc., etc. Whereas if you're like, I need results now, I know this guy can do a job for me, I'm going to go and grab him from the neighbouring country, that kind of makes some sense, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I for a lot of those guys, I was their favourite personnel because we'd won trophies together. And there's clubs coming in and I'm going, well, it makes sense they go to these guys because they're paying more and I think they have a better reputation. And I was surprised that some of them signed for me. And I'm assuming it's because the favourite personnel thing played into it. Or when you've offered out the contract, sometimes it's like, why is this guy not replied to me for 3 weeks with his contract? He waits a month. I've got games I'm playing now. They come back after maybe a week. So that definitely helps, I think, as well. It's something I didn't see in the game previously when I'm, like you said, going out picking up random kids off the street.
I had that recently with a player that we signed from. So it was a young prospect at Hamburg, and I took one of my backroom staff members with me, Robbie Fowler, to Scotland, and he took a massive pay cut to go from Champions League, no, I think they were Europa League, Hamburg, to No Europe, Dundee United. And it said that, he literally said he was excited to work with Robbie Fowler. That's why he did it. And it's interesting, and I think we maybe don't give SI enough credit for some of those things that have been happening in the background around favoured personnel. And like, if you sign 2 players that have like a partnership at another club, they retain that partnership now in this game, which is really interesting.
Oh,
as well.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting.
The Robbie Fowler thing is interesting. I didn't know that. One thing I did notice, and I saw they showed a clip of Scout Report which said signing this player will also give you a big commercial boost.
Yeah.
And I ended up when I signed Paddy the Spud to China, I think he was with a championship team. I want to say like a Barnsley or someone like that who were in the championship at the time. And signing him, I'm guessing because he played in the championship, was going to give us a boost in shirt sales and actually give us a noticeable amount of money into our bank balance, which you don't really see when you're in England, unless you're signing a Haaland or someone, you know? And I've never seen it before in game. I knew it was a thing that could happen, but you start seeing more things like that.
Yeah,
if I'd known that having a reputation like Robbie Fowler as my assistant, I'd have picked better assistant managers. So.
yeah, for some reason he was just really keen to work with this guy. So, like, yeah, I guess you don't often see those things in there. And I've had that a little bit with, it was actually last year on my Swiss Build a Nation save, is we were really struggling for reputation was the only thing holding us back. And this, I think he was German, but like world class, like won the World Cup with Germany player was available on a free, and we convinced him to come, and similarly had that, like, he boosted the whole reputation of the club up and shirt sales and everything, because it was like the first big name this club had ever signed. So like, those are really kind of nice things, and I could actually see that if you are managing somewhere like, as you say, like Malaysia, you're more likely to see that happen. I guess there's an irony that if you are managing Man City in Football Manager, you're going to see that when you sign Haaland and Mbappe, but most players of the game aren't going to see that. But if you do go to the really low down clubs where, signing a player from Barnsley is like, wow, superstar, you know, that's really fun.
The other thing that I find cool in the game, so I've moved to Ireland. I don't have a huge scouting network, but my player knowledge from South Africa, which is the last club I was at, I see a lot of South African players. So I've actually signed a free transfer, because in Ireland you can get them straight into the squad. A striker called Mabasa, who's South African, and he's come in, he's scored 3 goals in 4 starts, because I have that knowledge brought with me, which anytime I've gone to any clubs in England, they already have a scouting network, but I've no budget in Ireland for scouting, so I can only see people within the league. Other than these guys that I had previously scouted from other clubs.
Yeah.
So my scouting knowledge, which at the moment is extensive for, I seem to have forgotten all of Asia. It's extensive for Ireland, South Africa, and Ivory Coast, despite only spending a month in Ivory Coast. And that was cool to see that I had my own network brought with me.
Yeah,
knowledge brought with me.
I've noticed that a little bit on my save, but you're right, there's just like weird black holes in it that don't make any sense. But I remember when we were in Sweden, we signed some Mexican players because we knew them because we'd just been in Mexico, and that was cool. Yeah, that was cool that we were, like, clearly this second tier Swedish club would not have known about second tier Mexican Wunderkid superstars, but we did, because I was just there. So that's like quite a cool feature.
Yeah, it does feel very much like you're having a coffee in Dublin outside St. Pat's training ground. You're like, there was this guy that I had in trial that was probably pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like you can see how the narrative would work in your head.
Yeah.
And the other thing in this world, I am like the suavest, coolest guy, because I think I speak. Hold on, I can check this actually. I speak 7 languages. So I think I usually give myself 3 languages: fluent in English, Irish, and basic German is what I normally have, because I did a bit of German in school. But I've also picked up Hindi, Chinese, Malay, Cantonese, and a basic level of French, again from my month-long French lessons in Ivory Coast.
Very intensive.
I got a lot from Ivory Coast, having played like 4 games for them, maybe.
Very intensive experience there.
Yeah.
It's very cool. It's very cool. We had Big Luis, who was this guy that generated in the lower tiers of Mexico, who was like 6'9" and crap at everything else. But you know what? Big Luis did a job everywhere. Because 6'9", nothing else matters.
Paddy the Spud for us. Trying to get Paddy the Spud home is difficult.
You've got to bring him home. You've got to.
Well, he's actually playing in Derry City, so he came home, sadly.
He betrayed you, stabbed you in the back. So if someone's listening to this and they're going, wow, that's a fantastic journey, I'd like to do that, and they're maybe looking at loading into South Africa, Indonesia, Hong Kong, what are your tips for those leagues? How might they differ if you are in that boat of having only done like lower leagues in England up, or managing your favourite club in Europe? Like, how does it differ?
I think one thing that probably hasn't changed for me from some other saves is, I'm unusual in Football Manager, and I don't have a huge amount of sentimentality. I have maybe one person like, right, I can be sentimental about this one guy, but like, if it's win it or bin it, it's all about you keeping your job and trying to build a 4-season, 5-season dynasty in China, like we did with QD Hanau. Don't have any sentimentality. Sell sell the player. You're going to get better players in there. It's constantly building the club you're at so you can get to the next level on the ladder is what I would say. And I'd also recommend not starting in South America because or like Central America, because those leagues look crazy. I'm a bit averse still going to them because I'm like, it's the Winter League, it's the Summer League, it's the Inter-Summer Winter League, and splits into 2 sections. Like, there's just so much football in South America, it's bananas.
Yeah, with all of the like regional Brazilian divisions, and then Mexico was fantastic. I hated it with a passion, and then actually, probably because I ended up winning it, I love it. Absolutely insane that you play all of your fixtures, like all of the half of the fixtures. So it's like home away, but like you haven't played everyone twice. Stop immediately. Just the top half of that league go into a playoff. So you're knocking everybody out, and then you have one game. Well done, you've won the league. And it's like, what? And then it's like, no, you haven't. Reset. Play all the other fixtures. So all the teams you played home, you play away, and vice versa. Again, knockout. Well done, you've won the league. And then you're like, what? And then it's like, now it's time for those two to play each other. And you're like, okay, so we've got like the winners trophy. And then it's like, oh no, but what do we do about promotion and relegation? Oh, that's based on the aggregate of the 2 leagues.
I like, so
What?
the reason we didn't go to Mexico, we looked at Mexico at one point. I was watching your stream at the time. I was like, oh, I know there's a lot to go on. I forget who was in Uruguay last year, but I think Uruguay to get promoted relegation, is it Uruguay? Might be wrong. It's like the average points over the last 3 seasons or something. There's somewhere where they do average points for promotion relegation. I was like, oh lads, this hurts my head. Like, what's going on? So I do think Hong Kong was nice for that. Like, you've got 10 or 12 teams in the league. It's a fairly quick. I think it's 12 teams. I think you play 22 games in the league, so you can rip through that for your first season. Canada looks to be the same. I think it's 10 teams in that league. You can rip through it. It's fairly straightforward as a league in that it is a league. It's not like Mexico. You know what I mean? It's like then as you get more confident with it, you can be a bit more experimental and go wider. And I think it makes you better at the game in terms of tactics because you're not using any real life ball knowledge to sign a fella to a 20 quid a week contract in Hong Kong that pays you play.
I quite like in terms of weird league formats. I quite like the ones where you have like a mini tournament and then the league itself. I think that's kind of okay, like because that's how they do it in Iceland as well as Scotland, where like you have a pre-season tournament basically, and if you win your group, then you suddenly find yourself in a knockout, like a League Cup knockout, and if you do really badly, then no knockout, League Cup for you.
The only thing like that we've kind of experienced in this journey and surprised us was in that South African championship, so the second division going into the first division. When we looked at the league, it showed champions and then it showed 2 playoff spots. So I didn't do any more investigations. Like 2 playoff spots, it's a straight shootout. Those 2 teams, one of them goes up. I didn't realize there's a 3rd spot in the Premier Division that goes into that mini league where you play the other 2 teams twice. So we got this lovely little mini league at the end of the season, and obviously one team is a Premier Division team, so you assume they're better than us. And the team that came second came 12, 15 points ahead of us. Like, we were nowhere near them in terms of the league, and we just about scraped 3rd place. And then we just ran the table. We went undefeated in this mini league, which was just one. I hit continue, and I was in this 3-person league. And I was like, what? First of all, who's the 3rd team I have never seen before?
Where are they?
What's happening? What's going on?
Yeah,
just panic and going. And then you realize, I have a chance to get promoted. And it's a fun little weird quirk that you don't see in other everyday football. So
yeah. Which this is now reminding me of the 3rd tier of Switzerland, where like we thought the league was over, and then suddenly all of the youth teams got booted out, and then the like top 6 that were left when they were removed, it's like, no, you're going again. Like, we're deciding who the real champion is now. We've taken the youth teams out. It's like, what? Okay, I guess. So weird.
Part of the reason we didn't go to, like, we probably could have maybe a long time we were looking for Irish jobs. There were Serie A jobs over there in Italy, and I was like, well, that's interesting. But then there's also a 27-team playoff across all of the regional Serie A. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do that again. It's just. And
I think this was the same in that weird Mexican playoff thing. Is the same as Italy, where if it's a draw, your league position determines who goes through.
Which is just so hard.
So you're just like, okay, time for extra time, and it's like, nope, you finished 1 point behind them 3 months ago, so bye. What? I don't understand. Oh, brilliant.
One of the great things of Football Manager, when it happens, you're like, I've got knocked out, and I know there's a logical reason. I just got to piece the Cluedo clues together of why this has happened. And you go reading rules all of a sudden. Yeah.
Why doesn't this work? There's something else you said there was about how you feel like it slightly tests your Football Manager skill a bit more because you don't know the players, you can't rely on like the Wonder Kid lists or the real life knowledge. Are you looking at star ratings? Are you looking at attributes? Are you building around a system? Like, what was your approach to that side of the game?
I very much go by attributes. Tactics wise, generally, or the game side of the game, I think I'm better at than the ball knowledge side of the game, or knowing the Wonder Kids, all that kind of stuff. So I think if you drop me into a random league or drop me into the future with other players in a network save, I think I do reasonably well. But in lower leagues and all of the, like, I've done tier 10 up, I've done championship up, like it's always lower leagues, Ireland Second Division up. When you start off at those lower leagues, all you're doing is signing a specialist. So I need a defender who can tackle and header the ball, and he's my last line of defense. And the guy from corners, I need a defender who's a normal height, 6 foot plus, but is fast, so he can catch the fast boys. And like, I want one winger who can cross the ball. I want one winger who can cut inside and shoot, because you only get like two skills that are over maybe 12 not even 12 if you're in Hong Kong. But like, they can do one thing really well. You hope two things, but definitely one thing. And you've got to build your system on, right, this is what this guy does when he gets the ball. He doesn't have a plan B. There's no plan B. They're all a Adama Traore, basically. Star rating doesn't come into it as well. Like, and at the lowest levels, like, some people are like, well, this guy gets paid weekly and he's professional, so he must be a better player. I was like, you can get amateur players that are better than some of the professional players at that level, or part-time contracts, you know? So it's very much attribute driven. Even now in Ireland, still it's like that, I guess, because I'm pulling from places in Africa where they don't have the star abilities. Sometimes I believe it's affected by reputation. Sometimes it feels like it is. I don't know whether it's true or not. That's just my own superstition I have.
It's definitely affected by versatility.
Yes.
Out of all of the leagues that you've managed in, what would be the one you would recommend?
I think you definitely go back to China. I think it's interesting in that you have to be competitive, you've got to find one of the best 5-6 Chinese keepers in the league, which is a challenge. But then it's a nicely competitive league. There's decent money there. You can attract one relatively famous player from the championship / premiership potentially. And it's just a good challenging league. It doesn't feel like there's PSG running away with it. That was one I had the most fun in. And I think I could go back and play any club there, and it would just be a fun challenge for 3 or 4 seasons.
So there you go. Ship yourself off to China. That's the HowWeRollEoghan recommendation.
Yeah, ignore the politics and ship yourself off to China.
Politics aside, China, great place.
Great bunch of lads.
Well, thank you very much. You've given a very thorough rundown of a number of leagues that I don't think, as a percentage, many Football Manager players play in. So it's been really interesting. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for the time. Sorry for getting too into my save. I tend to like the sound of my own voice, so I appreciate you giving me the time to do that.
If we want to find out where you go next, what is the best way of doing that?
So follow me at HowWeRoll Twitch. That's not it. Follow me on Twitch at HowWeRollEoghan. Owen is EOGHAN. Because Irish. I don't have a regular streaming schedule. Most Wednesdays I'll be live. It's kind of my most consistent day. Real life doesn't allow me to have a schedule at the moment. But if you want to find out when I'm going live, you can follow me on Twitter, or X as it's now known, at the same handle. I'll usually announce it that day, a couple of hours before I go live.
Beautiful. Go give Owen a follow, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jay. I'm a big fan. Keep up the good work. Looking forward to the episodes I'm not on and catching up on those guys as well.
Well, this one that you're on is obviously going to be the best one.
Oh, thank you. I think so already. That, again, it's like I said, massive ego. Didn't need to be told it, but I appreciate the sentiment.
And there we have it, the charismatic and always entertaining HowWeRollEoghan, who's genuinely a really lovely chap. And what a fascinating journey he's been on. This was an episode that had to be cut down a little bit as well, because there were so many details in here. It was such a story, and Owen is such a great storyteller, so it's really great to have him on the podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We will be back next week with more episodes, looking at FM24. So that's exciting. It's on the horizon. And thanks for listening. Really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who's leaving ratings and comments. I do read them all. It's really brilliant. And until next time, go well, friends.